Hi, everybody. I'm Kaya Parkoff, licensed clinical social worker, and this is ParshaRx, mental health prescriptions from the weekly Torah portion. And I am filming from Aragot Farms in the magnificent Judean hills of Israel, a place that makes Exile feel just a little closer to redemption. This week, we read two parshiot, Behar and Bechukotai. In Behar, we're taught the mitzvah of Shemitah, the commandment to let the land rest every seventh year. The Sfat Emet explains this isn't only about soil, it's about soul. When we're constantly on the move, always doing, we disconnect. We disconnect from our bodies, we disconnect from our relationships, and we disconnect from God. And parts of us go into exile, not geographically, but emotionally and spiritually. I remember a time when I couldn't imagine giving up my Saturdays. But 32 years later, I can't even imagine how I, or my marriage, or my children could have flourished without Shabbat. That weekly pause saved us. It gave us ourselves. It gave us each other. And it gave us God. And it's not just spiritual. Many credible studies show that families who regularly unplug from screens and spend intentional time together, whether it's Shabbat or a secular tech Sabbath, report higher emotional connection, lower stress, and better mental health outcomes. Even one day a week without electronics, focused on presence and connection, can lower cortisol, improve attention span, and strengthen family bonds. Bechukotai continues the theme with a list of blessings, but also a list of painful consequences: fear, illness, famine, exile. At first glance, it feels like punishment. But Rashi reframes the opening line, "If you walk in my statutes," to mean if you struggle in the Torah. Not if you're perfect in it, it's if you stay engaged. That's what the name Yisrael, Israel, means, one who struggles with God. Our identity is rooted in striving for relationship, not achieving perfection. The Lubavitcher Rebbe taught that the so-called punishments in Bechukotai aren't retribution. They're what naturally happens when we disconnect, when we abandon the relationship with God, or we abandon the relationship with ourselves. In trauma healing, in the work I do, this is everything. The pain isn't just what happened, it's the feeling of isolation that follows what happened. The part of you that went into hiding, went into exile, and hasn't come back. But the Parsha doesn't end in despair, and neither does trauma therapy. It ends with a promise. The Parsha ends, even when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not abandon them. Even in exile, we are not alone. And return is always possible. That's what Aragot Farms represents. Jeremy and Tehila Gimpel and Ari and Shana Abramowitz, they didn't wait for the world to be healed. They started healing it with their own hands right here. And this week, we witnessed another kind of courage bloom. Yuval Raphael, survivor of the October 7th Nova Festival massacre. She played dead for 8 hours until she was rescued. She stood on the Eurovision stage singing "A New Day Will Rise." Despite intense global pressure not to perform, she showed up. She sang with strength. She placed second overall and first in the public vote. That's not just survival. That's return from exile. So what's this week's ParshaRx? Where in your life have you gone into exile? What part of you is waiting to be seen? waiting to be softened, waiting to be welcomed home. Let the land rest. Let your soul rest. You're not being punished. You're being invited. You're being invited to reconnect, invited to return, invited to rise. From the beautiful Judean hills of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.